Hello, this is Dr. Amy Brees Harper of the Sister Vegan Project, and here is Miro. He's my youngest of the four. He's 9.5 months old, and he just woke up from nap. He's a little teary-eyed. So, I want to respond to folk from the last 2 weeks after I issued my blog post about being silent if you are an anti-specious, pro-vegan, non-human animal rights organization about, are you still remaining silent on your stance against white supremacist racial caste system? And I had asked them a letter to have, if you are part of these organizations or you have a favorite organization in the United States that has yet to issue a statement, especially post-Charlottesville, that there should be a statement issued and even an action plan on how the organization plans on actually being against white supremacy and systemic racism. And I got a lot of support for the most part, but I also got a lot of disappointing comments, and people forwarded me some comments as my blog article went viral. People saying, who is this woman to force her agenda on what these organizations should be doing? Are you serious? Wow, what a very almost white privileged perspective of the world to have that response. I would like to know how it's agenda or even distracting when a human being asks another organization to simply make sure they're not in collusion with systems that are beating down, causing violence, subjugating, causing fear, inequalities, inequities towards non-white human beings on the planet. And by the way, the animal rights movement still is largely white in terms of epistemology, in terms of how it's framed, the leadership. So when you take that one-dimensional approach that we have nothing to say or do with racism, we're only about the animals, it takes human beings to actually do any type of justice work. If the majority of the world is being attacked by white supremacist ideologies, if they're living in parts of the world like the United States, which is a white settler nation, and it's built on a white supremacist racial caste system, showing still 500 years later through amazing research, legal research, economic research, social research, that white people benefit from this caste system at the expense of non-white people. If you cannot be against that, and you're silent but still in collusion, the human beings that are suffering in the system are not able to reach any type of potential to find humanity and to find what they need to become fully effective as activists, including being a vegan, including being a non-human animal rights activist. It's hard to be fully who you are and do what you need to do if you're living in a society that is oppressing you. And like I said, in the United States, especially since Trump did win, and it shows that half the country who was voting supports a white supremacist racial caste system, how do you think you can do your work living in a one-dimensional bubble and saying you don't want someone pushing an agenda to strip that oppressive system away? How do you expect to have anybody be on board or understand what you are doing when you can't even be in solidarity with the very communities who are suffering and struggling, trying to survive through this racist system? If I read the comments that some of these people wrote, who are part of these mostly white-led animal rights groups, and I, as a non-vegan person of color and or someone negatively affected by white supremacy and racism, I would never ever be interested in joining your cause. I would think, wow, it's too much of a burden for you to simply say you're against this system beating me down and hating me because of my skin color, because of my ethnicity, because of my religion, because XYZ. That is the least likely way to gain supporters in a movement that is already depicted as largely white, one-dimensional, and privileged. Silence is collusion. Neutrality is collusion. And I hate to bring this up because it seems almost ridiculous. A lot of folk always wonder, how could we let this happen when we look historically about the atrocities that human beings have allowed historically? Because they're still happening now, but it's so close in terms of time. A lot of folk don't even realize it's happening, so I have to defer to the past. A lot of people who are in privileged positions, especially racially in class, will say, back then when antebellum slavery was the norm, I know I would have been against it. Or, in Germany, I know I would have been against the Holocaust. Actually, I'm really wondering to what degree that is true. Because it doesn't just take a KKK member or a neo-Nazi to be the true racist or be the true person who's upholding these systems of oppression. It's a spectrum, it's a continuum. If you don't have a statement or a plan against it, you are going to allow it to continue. It's very simple. There is no negative agenda being pushed on these organizations. We're simply asking you make it clear that you do not tolerate the same ideologies that have created millions of people to die, to suffer, to be exploited. And in the same way that you are dedicated to making it clear to those who are not vegan yet, don't understand animal rights, making it clear that you don't want to tolerate a system that creates millions of animals to suffer, to be exploited, to be killed. It's very simple. We're just asking you to please make it clear that you are against the suffering, the system that creates the suffering and the anguish for not just non-human animals, but human beings as well. Thank you. And I look forward to engaging in an action plan, not getting defensive, and doing your part in making sure you are practicing ahimsa in a way that understands that animals are not just non-human animals, but human beings as well.